Mickey Mouse just dragging his balls through the copyright office. Anybody remember the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? No, I'm not talking about the extremely shitty movie that completely didn't understand the source material. It bombed! No, I'm talking about the graphic novel by Alan Moore. It has a weird history because the first graphic novel is excellent. The second graphic novel gets really fucking weird. We've got Mr. Hyde raping the Invisible Man in the second graphic novel. I can see why they wouldn't want to do a second League of Extraordinary Gentlemen movie. Well, that, and it fucking bombed. And, to death, by the way. That's as graphic as I'm going to get. It's bad. Then the third one, they just start singing. Like, it's literally a musical. Like, Alan Moore is fucking nuts, man. Look, I mean, I know a lot of people worship at the altar of Alan Moore. The dude is fucking nuts. Like, I've read a lot of his shit. There's one really thick book about sex. It's very expensive, too. I think it cost me like $80 or $100 or some shit. It's like really fucking expensive. And it's all about sex, right? Like there's these two people talking and their shadows look like they're having sex just because of the way the shadows are distorted. It's like, I mean, that's one of the more mild versions. Like, Sleeping Beauty, or no, Snow White. Snow White's getting dicked down by the seven dwarfs and shit. It's like, man, they was fucking. I don't know, man. Like, dude is fucking, he's weird. I talk a big game, and I talk about some perverted shit every now and then, but goddamn, man. Alan Moore, he takes it to the next fucking level. His reaction channel would actually be awesome. Be filthy, it would be instantly demonetized like mine is, and probably banned for life from YouTube. But for the 5 seconds YouTube allowed him to stay on YouTube and have a reaction channel, he'd be awesome. So anyway, the point is, for the people who don't know, who avoided that shitty movie like the plague, like most people apparently did, the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was a concept from Alan Moore, whereas he went to, like, I think it was like 1910, and said, okay, who was in popular culture back in 1910? Who were people reading about? Who had the myths and legends and, you know, spoken verse stories about him, poems and shit like that? Who was big in pop culture? Who were the fictional characters people were most excited about back in 1910? And so you had like Alan Quartermain, who was like the Indiana Jones before Indiana Jones. And you had like Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll Mr. Hyde and Dracula and the Invisible Man, shit like that. Nemo with the Nautilus, you know. You could have taken the guy who went in the time machine, whatever that character's name. I don't think that character is actually ever named by name. It wasn't ever given a name. He was just the scientist, the time machine, time traveler. I don't remember what H.G. Wells called him. But so that's what people had to do back then. So basically, he says if you were going to have a massive threat to your country, in this case, the United Kingdom, and if all the fictional characters that people are reading about were real, who would you bring together to form a team? That was the concept of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. So he took the woman from Dracula, who was a vampire herself. I think that may have just been in the movie. Actually, yeah, she was the only vampire in the movie. I actually like that's the only thing the movie did that I like. I like the fact she was a vampire because that made her interesting. And then you've got Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You know, and see, Dr. Jekyll's actually a scientist, so that's useful. Mr. Hyde could Hulk out and fuck people up. And then you had the Invisible Man, of course. You know, his skills are obvious. Alan Quartermain, you imagine having Indiana Jones on your team. You know. And let me see, who else? Well, Captain Nemo, you could go in a submarine before they had submarines. So anything to do with the water, he fucking dominated. I think that was it. I think that was the group. I may be missing somebody. It's been a while since I've read it. And the threat in the first one, I think, was Fu Manchu. And then the threat in the second one was the invasion, you know, Mars attacks, like the invasion of the Mars pod people from, what was it? War of the Worlds. So it's basically the aliens from War of the Worlds was the threat in the second series of graphic novels. I never finished the third because it was so fucking bad. I don't have no idea what the threat was in the third one. So I've always liked the concept. What if we spun it forward 110 years and said, okay, here in 2021, if we were to look around pop culture, who's big? Because, you know, the idea essentially is the Avengers before the Avengers, right? You know, Or maybe, well, I think the Avengers were something in the comics back when he wrote this shit. Like, he wrote this shit like 25 years ago, right? So, um, the Avengers were a thing in the comics. They weren't even close to making any movies out of them, but they were a thing in the comics. So what? So if we were to do a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in 2021, what would your team look like? And so here's some ground rules, just arbitrary, but we got to. Ground rules actually inspire creativity. Like if you have unlimited possibilities, you have paralysis by analysis, right? So that's the only purpose of the rules. You can only go back 30 years. You can only use TV characters. Let's not use any superheroes because they would just dominate the whole thing. Like, Superman's been on fucking TV. So if you have Superman, there's no point in having anybody else in the team. So come on, let's pretend like superpowers are not a thing. Basically, essentially normal people. Extraordinary people as far as their mental and maybe their physical gifts, but normal. You know what I'm saying? So no Incredible Hulk, none of that shit. So we'll stay away from superheroes. You can only go back 30 years in TV, and the only purpose of that, the only reason for that limitation, is if you go back further than that, the tech isn't going to match up. Like, if you have a cop from the 70s, he's not going to know how to he's going to be useless here in 2021. He won't know about DNA, he won't know about computer searches, social media, and all that shit. So, that's the only real purpose of that. So, go back 30 years, you can have 6 people on your team, and then a leader in addition, so a total of 7. But the leader has to be has leadership capabilities. Because you got to bring all these fucking disparate personalities together and actually do something. And the threat, we don't know what the threat's going to be. But let's just say, like, it could be like aliens. It could be fucking supernatural invasion of vampires or some shit. Or maybe another country has way more tech than we do. Who knows? Who knows what it is? A secret society. But whatever it is, the threat is massive. Which is why you need a League of Extraordinary Gentlemen to pull together and save the world, essentially. And it could be whatever country you live in, or it could be the United States. The United States typically seems to be the battleground for some reason. Maybe because that's where all the movies are made. I don't know. But, all your characters don't have to be Americans. They can be from anywhere. The United States, they got enough money. They can pay a motherfucker to come over from England to save their ass. You know what I'm saying? So, money's no object, right? The other interesting thing about this is some of this is going to be cross-genre. Like you may have somebody like, who they only fight aliens on TV, but now maybe they'll have to deal with the mob or something. So how flexible can they be? So you're going to want people who can fight. You're going to want people who may be good at computers, possibly, depending on what kind of threat it's going to be. You're going to want people who are really smart. You're going to want some scientists, maybe some medical doctors. You may have to do autopsies if it's aliens, right? So just think about it. And I'll go ahead and give you my team, but, think about your team first. Maybe pause the video and think about who would you have in your team. 6 people from any TV show you can imagine that is not a superhero. And the other limitation is, let's go ahead and make sure they're set in our time period. So, like, yes, there are TV shows like Star Trek, but the tech is so wildly different than ours, it just would be pointless. Spock, he would just dominate the entire team, right? So nobody from sci-fi shows either. That's the other limitation. Okay, with that in mind, who would you have in your team? And then I'm going to give you who I'd have on my team. Okay. First things first. Gots to have Jack Bauer. Because, well, first of all, he's a badass. And if you need information, he's going to get you some fucking information, goddammit. I don't know if it's going to be legit information. They say torture doesn't work. I don't know. They'll say anything just get you to fucking stop hurting them, right? But, I don't know. It seems to work on 24. So, so you got to have Jack Bauer. Plus, the dude, you can't fucking kill him. He was tortured by the Chinese for fucking, a year and a half? Never said a fucking word. He was like, kiss my ass. Like you said, torture doesn't work, at least not on Jack Bauer. Now, as a honorable mention, now this is just a personal limitation. You don't have to have this limitation if you don't want to. Me, I limited myself to 1 character per TV show. Because I didn't want to just have like half of one show, because that'd be stupid, right? But don't feel the need to limit yourself to that if necessary. But because I picked Jack Bauer, I couldn't pick Tony from 24. He's one of my favorite characters. That dude is awesome. Plus, he'll turn evil on your ass. And maybe you need somebody to turn evil. He's basically almost as good as Jack Bauer in every way. Probably a better leader than Jack Bauer, because he actually ran CTU for a while. And he'll turn evil on your ass. So he was very close. I almost picked him. And Chloe from 24, I almost picked her, just the computer skills. But I wasn't sure. Are we going to need computer skills? If they're vampires, we probably won't. Aliens, probably not, because it's not like Independence Day where you can hack the fucking alien ship, right? The alien computers. So That's the only reason I left her off. She's awesome. All right, number 2, Mr. Echo from Lost. Yeah, first physical skills again. Plus, you might need to get theological on a motherfucker. And you might need somebody to dial Jack Bauer back just a little bit if he's going to go too fucking crazy. Plus, Mr. Echo can track through anything. Like, he's a great tracker through the fucking forest, jungle, and shit. You know, that kind of shit. I mean, he's got everything you need. Like, you need another heavy hitter, but also somebody who has some fucking common sense and some empathy. And maybe empathy is what we need to, if it's going to be aliens or some shit or some way, maybe you want to relate to the vampires in some way. You know, it gives you flexibility. Like, you need somebody on your team who's going to hold people back and be like, let's not get stupid now. So, you know, he absolutely mandatory. And as far as the honorable mention from that category, Jack Shepherd didn't really have any skills, so he wasn't ever considered. Saeed was very close, but we've already got a torturer, and Jack Bauer is probably as physically gifted as Saeed. He could probably fight just as well. So it was close, but I wanted Mr. Echo more than I wanted Saeed. So, you know, that's why I went with Saeed. And then also John Locke, you know, just for, like, tracking skills and, you know, being able to jury rig some stuff and MacGyver some shit. He could probably handle that. But he's too fucking emotional, and he'll quit on you every now and then, just for a season or two, but he will. You don't want any quitters on your team. This is going to be a fucking all-star team. Ain't going to be no goddamn quitters on my team. Third member of the team, Liv Moore from iZombie. Now, she's a zombie, so, you know, she's not really going to be fraternizing anybody. You don't want her scratching anybody. We only need one zombie in the team. We don't need the whole team to be some fucking zombies. Jack Bauer's still going to try to fuck. Believe that. Plus, that's a lot of brains to be carrying around. But you may need information. I don't know if she could eat a vampire brain and if it would work, but it possibly could. Plus, I would carry a pack of brains for any skill set we need. Maybe we need somebody to fly a jet fighter or a helicopter or a submarine. Or maybe we need some scientists to work with some other scientists on my team. Or maybe we need an additional torturer. Like, whatever you got. We'll have a pack of 24 brains and some of the 24 different kinds of minds you can imagine. Different skill sets, personalities, all kinds of shit. Like, we may need to have her become Black Widow or some shit. So have some Black Widow's brains. You know, maybe Hawkeye brought some back from the other planet. I'm not saying it's a shared universe. I'm just saying, you know, like, we would have brains for anything we need. You know, don't ask me how we're going to get them. We'll just have them. But yeah, she would be an excellent member of the team. We want flexibility. We want everybody to be a Swiss Army knife. Kind of like Bill Belichick. That's how he builds his team. If you have a team full of Swiss Army knives, you can adapt to any situation, any kind of enemy whatsoever. We're going to be unbeatable. Okay, fourth member of the team. Now, this is going to be a little controversial, but just stay with me. I didn't say we couldn't have villains on our team. Walter fucking White. You're goddamn right. Walter White. First of all, the man's a fucking genius. We might need some chemistry shit. We're going to definitely need some scientists. And we can't be bothered with any morals or, you know, any shit like that, right? So we need somebody who's willing to do anything to save his ass and save his family's ass, because his family's in the world. So he will save the world to save his family. He's going to get paid, so we don't have to worry about him going to doing any crime. But he will get dark side on your fucking ass. As long as we keep his ego checked, there's got to be somebody there who can kiss his fucking ass. Every now and then, we'll have Liv eat some of Jesse's brains and then kiss his ass for a while, and he'll be fine. But he can't go dark side if necessary. He'll do anything it takes to win. And if we're trying to save the world against an alien invasion or fucking zombies or whatever, sorry, Liv, not zombies, vampires or whatever, then, you know, you want somebody who will do anything to fucking win, who will blow your face off. You need this. Now, as far as an honorable mention there, another Walter from Fringe, Walter Bishop, was very close. It was very close. But whereas Walter Bishop, probably he thinks bigger, he can do more crazy shit. He can open up a portal to the alien world if necessary. We can go and kick their ass on their fucking world if that's what's happening, if we're getting invaded by aliens. He can do that. But he might also destroy the universe while he's doing that. We need somebody a little bit less, like if Walter Bishop's like an 11, Walter White's a 9. Like, you want somebody crazy, but you don't want somebody that fucking crazy. Like, we ain't trying to destroy the fucking universe. Like, way to break the universe, genius. Plus, he's fucking nuts, and we don't need anybody talking about cottage cheese or something when we're in the field trying to fucking fight hellhounds or whatever. You know, whatever the fuck we're dealing with. So, I was very tempted by Walter Bishop, but he's just too much of a loose cannon, man. I'm not saying Walter White's not a loose cannon. I'm just saying Walter Bishop is a bigger loose cannon. There's only so much you can take, right? We have a great team leader. You'll find that out in a minute, but She ain't that good. All right, so because I didn't do Walter Bishop, I decided, what about Peter Bishop? Peter Bishop is almost as good of a scientist as his father, but he's not fucking nuts, okay? So he can do a lot of the same shit that Walter can. He lives in the same playground. He's maybe 90% of his father. So 90% of Walter Bishop's a lot of awesome, right? So we're getting a great fucking scientist. Plus, Peter can bust a cap on a motherfucker. He ain't afraid to do that. He will kill a motherfucker. He will wreak ungodly vengeance on a motherfucker, you know? He'll put the implant into his fucking head and go terrorize some shit. So I ain't worried about that. So he can handle his fucking business, and he's great in the fucking lab. He'll work well with Walter White. Plus, Peter Bishop's a little bit of a criminal himself. So he can be all moral and honorable talking about, damn, I can't work with Walter White. Fuck that, man. Those two will get along great. Imagine the shenanigans they'll come up with. Walter White would be, okay, here's how we're going to blow the aliens' faces off. And Peter would be like, and I can construct exactly what you're talking about. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Those two would be fucking excellent together. Be terrorizing some shit. Last member of the team, another scientist who can also fight and is your second in command. You know, because she's a capable leader in her own right. We've seen her lead an entire fucking outpost over in another galaxy. God damn it. She can lead some shit. But as a great leader, she can also follow orders, which is what you need from a second in command. Keep the people in line. Plus, she can bust a cap in a motherfucker. She'll fight like a motherfucker. Plus, she's another genius scientist. Samantha Carter from SG-1. Now, I said no sci-fi, but they are real-world people who happen to be in a sci-fi situation, right? So Samantha Carter could have easily been on the X-Files, or she could have been on the Ozark, or she could have been in some fucking Afghanistan TV show, or, you know, the Navy SEAL shows. Like, she could have been in any of these shows. She has happened to be in a universe where there are aliens and they go out and fight aliens. But it's a real-world situation. She's a real-world person. She's not in the 25th fucking century, you know, like Star Trek. So you can use people from like Star Trek, Stargate SG-1, right? Because it's a real-world scenario. The people are grounded. But, yeah, she can get up to some fucking scientific shenanigans. And she's a little bit more theoretical science, where Peter Bishop and Walter White are more practical science. You know, Walter White's like the lower level. He's like chemistry and shit, really practical shit. Peter Bishop's like here, and then Samantha Carter's up here as far as like the theoretical physics and astrophysics. If it's aliens, aliens are fucked. Because we got, Samantha Carter can definitely deal with the shit, and Peter Bishop, he ain't shy about that shit either. You know, Jack could be torturing the fucking aliens. Mr. X could be theorizing them, you know, empathizing with them, and Liv Moore just be eating their brains, and then, okay, here's where the ship is. Let's go blow it up. So, if it's aliens, the aliens are fucked. Vampires, maybe the hellhounds, maybe they're fighting Satan. That shit may be a little bit more of a toss-up. But I'm very confident if we're dealing with aliens, we're going to fuck them up. Like, okay, so that's the team. You've got Jack Bauer, Mr. Echo, Liv Moore, Walter White, Peter Bishop, and Samantha Carter. All of them can fight. Probably Liv Moore, unless she's eating the brain of somebody can fight, she's not really going to fight. We'll keep her in the lab for the most part, depending on what brain she's eating. Walter White can fight. He's not a great fighter. You know, I mean, Jesse almost kicked his ass. Mostly he's all about, like, outthinking you and blowing you up from afar. And maybe he'll shoot a motherfucker or hit someone with the car, but he's not a really good fighter either. Everybody else can fight. So, when it comes to some hand-to-hand shit or some gun shenanigans, I feel pretty good about it. All right, as other honorable mentions, Mike from Breaking Bad. I wanted to have Walter White for his mind. Mike's got a great mind too. Mike can figure some shit out. If you need him to follow somebody or you need him to figure some shit out, he'd be great coming off the bench. Like, he's great, but he's older. Physically, he's not as good. I mean, he could probably whip Walter White's ass, but he ain't whipping nobody else's ass on this team. You know, so he's older, you know, and I wanted Walter more because his mind is better. Like, come on, they're both very smart men, but like Walter White, like, he took out the king. So, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I mean, that's the only reason he didn't make it in. The other two honorable mentions are from Person of Interest. John Reese, badass fucking fighter. God, man, he will tear your fucking ass up. He will go on a roaring rampage of revenge. He will fuck some shit up. But that's about all he can do. If you think about my team, everybody else on my team, as good as they are as fighters, they have one other skill. Jack Bauer, interrogation. Peter Bishop, good fighter, but, you know, he's a fucking scientist as well. Mr. Echo, great fighter. He could probably take John Reese in hand-to-hand combat. Maybe, probably, maybe not. I mean, John Reese got so much training, but John Reese ain't trying to empathize with nobody, and he's also kind of a loner. I mean, he ends up being able to work with the team, so to speak, but he's kind of a loner. So if there was a seventh spot on the team, in addition to like the leader, it would definitely be John Reese because he's awesome. He's fucking awesome, but he has no other skill. That's his only skill. And as far as like he can like find out shit about people, and he's good with like following them around and insinuating. He's good at impersonations and shit. But I'm not sure how much of that we're going to need to do. Like we're not really going to need to be impersonating aliens or vampires. I'm talking about we would only activate this team if we have a world-class threat, world-ending threat. We're not talking about like if Mexico wants to invade Texas or some shit. The regular motherfuckers can handle this shit. We're talking about some world-class shit. And John Reese isn't really going to be useful there. You know what I'm saying? So there's just, in other words, there's people that are better than him. And also Root from Perseverance. Same thing. She's great at fighting, and she takes orders very well. And she's also good with hacking. But again, I don't know if we're going to need any hacking skills or not. If we need hacking skills, maybe we'll call up Chloe from 24 and Root from Perseverance. Until then, the people on the team just have skills I think we're going to need more. They're more flexible, and, they can fight at least as well as Root can. Yeah, Root is insane, and I love insane. But, again, another honorable mention, just quite didn't make the cut. That's how good my team is. Like, we're leaving some great fucking people on the bench. That's when you got a really good rock star team. All right, now, leaders. There's a lot of people you can choose from. You need somebody who can fucking lead people, who can inspire confidence, who can think themselves out of any kind of situation. There's so many great leaders in all the TV shows you can get across, right? So many great leaders. The first runner-up, to go back to Breaking Bad again, Gus Fring. I mean, imagine Gus Fring being your leader. Like, I would feel very comfortable. If I hadn't thought of somebody better, I would feel very comfortable with Gus Fring being the leader because he's a great organizer. He'll outthink you like a motherfucker. He's probably going to be uncomfortable working with Walter White. Again, probably a little salty about how things happened the first time, I think he was such a great leader because he was so motivated for revenge. And so that's the only thing he thought about. I wonder if he would have been as good of a leader if he had already gotten his revenge, or if, like in this particular story we've set up, he's already gotten his revenge years ago, or that never happened, right? Most likely these people will be plucked from whatever TV show they're in, whatever circumstances they're in, at some point in their series run. Be like, we've got a bigger problem. You can get back to this cartel drug running shit later. We don't care what you're doing. You need to help us, right? So, but this saving the world, he doesn't love anybody. There's nobody he cares about, right? Like, he just cares about accumulating wealth and accumulating power so he can get his revenge. And then I guess he'd kind of be like Thanos, just go sit down somewhere and just chill. Like, he would have still made money. He would have stayed in business. I mean, we saw him do that when he basically crushed the cartel close to the end of his life. We didn't see him like talking about retiring or anything, but I think after a year or two, he probably, he just wouldn't have had to fire anymore. I think that was the one thing that was driving him, and it was all gone. Probably, yeah, and we don't know, what would have happened after he killed Salamanca, because that's when he died as well. We never saw him after that, because that was the last thing that was really driving him. So, I'm just saying, there's just something holding me back from Gus Fring. And plus, I don't know that he would inspire people. He's a great leader when he's got the money. When he controls the money and people are afraid of him and they're afraid he'll kill you if you don't follow his orders. This ain't going to be that kind of team. It's not going to be a team ruled by fear. Jack Bauer would cut his fucking throat. Peter Bishop would throw him out of a window. And Samantha Carter would probably just shoot his ass, right? So, people ain't going to go for this shit, man. There's too many fucking Boy Scouts on our team. I mean, I'm just saying that not everybody's a Boy Scout, but when we're talking about leader, you can't lead from fear. This kind of a team. That's the only reason. Because as far as brilliance, drive, the normal ability to spot, again, I just question his leadership style. I just don't think it would work in this scenario. So he's the honorable mention runner-up. Now, my leader, and this is probably going to be controversial because I did debate this for a long time. There's a lot of people I considered. Annalise Keating from How to Get Away with Murder. Now, this is assuming we can control her fucking drinking, okay? Because we can't have a drunk, and I know I'm one to talk. I'm one to talk. I'm just saying, but I'm not trying to lead this team either. You ain't seen me say I'm going to be the leader, right? But if we can control her drinking, she's somebody who can inspire loyalty, confidence. She can outthink herself out of any fucking situation. If there's any kind of bureaucratic bullshit we would need to do, she's your person. Anything we got to clear with any of these governments, maybe get all the governments together to support the team to whatever the threat is. And also, she can motivate people. She's a master manipulator. She can outthink you in any fucking situation. They showed the law, but I think she can apply that to anything. I think she's a great leader. And she's not going to get all arrogant. I think she knows how to control people. And again, this is a different scenario. She's not under constant threat of being arrested, so I think she'll be a little bit more chill. Very fucking smart. And I think she can relate to any kind of person. So I think that she's the kind of person that people respect. Because I don't think you necessarily need a military leader, because you've got your second in command. You can tell Samantha Carter, this is what I want you to do. Now you handle the strategy and tactics. Because, that's why Samantha Carter's a strong number 2. She can handle all this fucking strategy and tactics shit, And, Jack Bauer can too, by the way. He's not a bad leader. I think he's better in the field, which is why he always ends up back in the field, but he's not a bad leader. Peter Bishop, under certain circumstances, I think probably could. So we've got a strong team. It's a lot of alpha people, self-starters. You don't need to light a fire. You don't need to give everybody a speech every day to get them motivated and shit. But yeah, so I think she'd be a great leader. But let me know what you think of my list, and I would love to see your list. And that's not just me begging for fucking comments to help the algorithm, even though it does. I mean, I'm honestly curious because there's so many fucking ways you could go with this, so many possibilities. I didn't even talk about in the boys, Billy Butcher was really fucking close to being on the team as well. But again, he's another person. I don't think he's a great leader. He's another person who gets shit done in the field against overwhelming odds. We have Mulder and Scully. We've got House. The Winchesters. There's so many fucking people you could put on a team, right? And that's just all the shows I watch, right? I'm sure there's shows you watch that, that I haven't even thought of. So there's a lot of permutations. There's a lot of ways you go with this. So I am honestly curious what lists people come up with. And if I ever become a billionaire, maybe I can make this happen on screen. It'd be fucking awesome, man. The only reason Alan Moore was able to write this shit is all these characters were public domain. None of these characters, the way that people have arranged things these days, companies arrange things, none of these characters will ever go into the public domain. Mickey Mouse has been around for over 100 fucking years and is never going to be in the fucking public domain. Disney will not allow it to happen. They're going to keep following exceptions and all this whatever fucking shit they're doing to continue the copyright. So we'll never be able to do it. But it would be fun.